Welcome everyone, this is the 31 Days of Dread, and I am your host, Peter A. DeLuca, aka PAD, and this is where we do one horror movie a day for the entire month of October. That's 30, if you can't count, that's 31 movies celebrating the greatest genre of them all, the greatest experimentational platform of them all, the greatest young filmmaker discoverer of them all. It is horror, 31 days coming at you. Look out, ghouls and ghosts, it gets spooky. Alright everyone, coming out of that intro hot, this is what I call the telethon portion of the podcast. This is where I pitch myself to you for your support. Your support means everything to me because we're fighting, the AKAPAD army is fighting against algorithms everywhere. Algorithms, I ate some cereal earlier today, I dumped it into my bowl and it was full of algorithms. Okay, bad joke. Alright. Sharing this podcast, telling your friends about it, leaving comments, leaving reviews. This is how we grow AKAPAD's audio audacity. Your support there is more valuable than anything other than like a high five in person, because I'd love a high five in person. Here we go, people. The birth of a franchise. I often compare Nightmare on Elm Street 3, The Dream Warriors to Rocky 4. But hey, I'm Peter A. DeLuca. Thanks for just coming to hang out with me. This is the 31 Days of Dread. I'm drinking a lot of coffee because here's the thing. I had a vision for today. I had a vision for last night. I had a vision for the weekend. And, well, Sunday Funday happened, so we're not doing anything there. And I had 2 more Freddy movies to watch. I call them Freddy movies. Who wants to call this thing Nightmare? I just don't like saying Nightmare endlessly. And so I had an option. I could record the first movie and then like still be one day behind. Or I could power through and essentially rewatch 4 and 5, 5 and 6, like type of like combo. And do like a long recording and drop everything in your beautiful laps. And then Sunday Funday happens, so it kind of, Eagles play, the Bucks play. Yesterday just turned into this like rush, and then my idea was like, hey, wake up, do the original, do the 1984 Nightmare, and you know, you gotta go into the office, you gotta meet someone at 10 o'clock, and then that turned into a 6 a.m. phone call. Red alert, like we're in trouble, we need you in there, like server problems, you're in Philly, get going, let's do this. Get in there, and yeah, like that sucks up my whole day. I don't eat, I don't do anything, I deal with multiple vendors, issues, co-workers, all these things. But then along the way, it's like, you know, like I'm recording the original Nightmare episode 1984 in my head. And because here's the thing, the Nightmare series is so well covered, it's so well revered now. You get action figures still. You can go to Hot Topic or wherever and get a t-shirt. What else is to be said? Well, I mean, I can give you a little bit of personal insight, a personal attachment to this movie. And this movie, to me, is so much like Rocky 4. In the context that if you imagine a Rocky movie, if you don't know anything about movies, and you describe someone like the character of Rocky, and you describe to them and you explain to them why Rocky is Rocky and why is he cool and what happens in the movies. The movie you would imagine is Rocky 4. You wouldn't imagine 1, 2, 3. You just wouldn't. You certainly wouldn't imagine Rocky 5. And if you did the same for Nightmare on Elm Street, you would imagine Dream Warriors. You would imagine the third movie. Stacked young Hollywood cast. Nearly everyone's great in it. Everyone is so well directed. We have a stacked production. We have maybe the best writing core for Nightmare. Story, Wes Craven, who is back, by the way. He's back. Bruce Wagner. Screenplay, Wes Craven, Bruce Wagner. Here we go. Chuck Russell, Frank Darabont. We're rocking and rolling. I mean, Angelo Balasamento, the Italian guy who's done a million movies doing the music. Budget, $4.6 million, maybe at the highest. Box office, $45 million. Great return. And then we have my connection to it. Growing up, we watched this movie, me and my friends, like everyone. We watched this movie a lot. Never owned the VHS, so we were renting. Loved the deaths in this movie. This is the one where the kids are in the mental asylum. Nancy comes back from the first movie. Again, they're fixing the problems with Freddy's Revenge. They're seeing what the market is. And look, keep in mind, Freddy's Revenge was made so freaking quick. It was made a little bit too fast. But you gotta cash those checks. You gotta get into it. You know? If not first, you're last. Greg Wasson plays our doctor. Patricia Arquette. So Patricia Arquette builds a little bit of this new trope within the series, which is a person who's psychically available to Freddy. Someone who is somewhat detached from the history of the origin of Freddy. And we get this blonde psychic trope throughout the rest of the series. Used, in my opinion, used very well, explained very well. But is it Nightmare? Does it work? These are the things to consider. But in this movie, everything works, everything clicks. We get this idea that they're trying to diagnose. They're trying to diagnose these problems. These dreams, like the troubled youth. They're trying to diagnose them with drugs. We see this plot point perfectly extrapolated into the 2003 Freddy vs. Jason with Hypnosil. All that origins here. There's so much pushback on the beginning of movie reboots, the realignment of franchises and what we call that. This essentially, in my view, is a reboot, because never moving forward do we reference Freddy's Revenge. We reference, the references go from 1, 3, 4, 5, and 6. We do not reference Freddy's Revenge, because the idea that Freddy could be that weekend and would have to possess an individual and not really come back roaring as Freddy really becomes it's very similar to the alien incubation face hugger problem you have from Alien to Aliens to Aliens vs. Predator to even Prometheus. So you have to ignore Freddy's Revenge, but Freddy's Revenge is such a good side tangent. The more I watch it, the more I enjoy it, all that stuff, because I do like movies that are placed within a period that do look raw. I do love period driven. I like old movies. I like old looking stuff. But then we have this movie. You know, this very podcast started. This started as Dream Warriors, and I never reviewed or spoke about the movie. My formal host, co-host, I will say. One year for Christmas, I gifted him the vinyl, the LP of Dream Warriors, because I wanted to inspire him to keep going, to get better, to, you know, like, take it seriously, and that essentially tore, you know, like, just that idea, just the thought of taking it seriously tore it apart. And it should never, taking it seriously should never tear anything apart. It should actually strengthen and make it stronger. And you might be like, well, blah, 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 blah. Okay, look around the world. Look around the world. You're driving in a car, or you're using a phone. Guess what? Those things taken very seriously. So go sit down. But no, it was so nice to watch this movie knowing I could like just share some of these things. Scott, I feel bad just dropping names. Scott Jones, Scott Eden, two Scotts I grew up around. Scott Jones would absolutely love and mimic the marionette death in this movie. Oh, by the way, big shout out to Lawrence Fishburne. The marionette death in this movie is, and who is it? I'm trying to get the actor. Bradley Craig, Philip. Holy crap, his death is my absolute favorite. This is where everyone's in an insane asylum. They can't use weapons, so he makes like paper mache marionettes. And Freddy rips out his veins and marionettes him to commit suicide. It's really there, okay? This movie is exactly what Freddy is. He's still scary. He's pun-driven, terrorizing everyone, can't be stopped. And then we have Greg Wilson, the doctor, John Saxon, who's now a drunk father, okay? Going back to the source, trying to figure out what they have to do to solve the curse of Freddy. They have to do something. Maybe they have to bury his bones. Freddy addresses all of this in the last movie. They bury his bones. Great sequence, incredible graveyard sequence. Okay, one of my favorites. And essentially, they, again, because we get the dream hook at the end, they only prevent death. They only prevent Freddy from being Freddy. They, again, these things are not explained, but they somehow calm the mystical dream demon Freddy. They calm him enough for people to have, I guess, compared to the next movie, maybe a year off. You get a year off, and then Freddy's going to come back and kill you. And that's exactly what happens in the next movie. Trope. If you survive a nightmare movie, you will die in the beginning of the next. Wonderful trope. Everyone, 31 Days of Dread, I'm so happy to finally talk to you about the Dream Warriors. Let's do this. We got Freddy 4. Freddy 4. What's the name of that? Do you guys remember? Because I'm the Dream Master. Son of a bitch. I keep wanting to say the Dream Child. No, Dream Master. So let's get to it. Rock and roll. And to continue this telethon where we're not talking about high five, there's other ways to support me. I'm a living professional. I'm a full-time freelancer. Anything you see on this, like here on this podcast or see my social media, I make everything. It's all made by me. That's a part of my pitch to you. And you can purchase professional services through AKAPAD.com. That's a pipeline to me if you want to send me a message. But also while you're there, you can sign up for my newsletter. You're going to get deals. You're going to get coupons. You're going to get 2 free trading cards mailed to you free worldwide. And they're 2 Wolfpack trading cards, 2 original characters, for upcoming comic book work. And speaking of comic books, you can go to Etsy, type in Uzi Susie, and that's where you're going to find my mini comic. You can purchase existing issues and pre-order upcoming issues along with bundles if you missed any, like issue 1, 2, or 3 or whatever. There, Uzi Susie is waiting for you. And keep an eye on Indiegogo. A lot of my bigger comic book projects will be available through Indiegogo. All of those updates will be here on this podcast. So if you're a regular listener, I'll let you know. We can rock and roll from there. So everyone, thank you so much, and feel free to reach out to me on social media, AKAPAD69, Instagram, and Xbox. That's right, you can play Halo with me. Just straight up AKAPAD on Twitter, straight up AKAPAD on the Facebook. My business page is there. My personal page is there. Hey, be a personal friend of mine. I don't care. Let's talk movies. Let's talk creativity. Let's talk fun, and just who cares? Do you like, the Transformer movies? I love them. We can talk about that all night. So meet me there, and we'll rock and roll. Let's get talking. We got a movie to discuss.